Goodman Games.
And I am Michael Curtis from Goodman Games.
We're here in Indianapolis on day one of Gen Con, or at least the first day of open Gen Con. We've all been here for several days. We're in the Lucas Oil Stadium, where there's a lot of awesome gaming going on. We have a DCC Funnel Experience and tournaments, a bunch of other games, a Wizard Fan, a Doom Gong, and so on. And we are here for the Ask Me Anything. So I wrote down some questions on piece. You guys may have heard of this stuff. It's called paper. We like to publish it. So we wrote down some of the questions you guys asked, and we'll also take questions from the chat as we go along if you guys have any additional questions. And we're doing this old school, folks. So it might be a slightly wobbly camera because we had to make everything work here at a con.
Yep. Gen Con every year we prep, we get here, and as the old saying goes, no plan survives contact with the enemy.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So we are here, and
Everything is harder in the field. So
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
we're rolling with it.
Anyway, so we got some questions here. We'll start with some of these. These are the ones that many of the fans emailed us over the last, I guess, week or so. So thank you, everybody. We'll never get to all the questions, but we wrote down a lot of them. And we'll start with those. And then in the chat, if we have time, we'll take some of those as well. So guys, we need a random system for picking our first question.
sure, sounds good to me.
So I'm going to close my eyes, mix these around. So, bam.
All right. Surprisingly enough.
So the question is, how does Goodman Games decide what to make next?
Exactly that way. We take
Yeah,
just around, boom.
A bunch of books and comics and movies. Smurfs. How do we decide? You guys, what do you answer?
Well, what we do is we wait for Joe. Joe is responsible for getting the master plan every year. So Joe puts together a production schedule and we figure out kind of what we need to do, and whether that's going to be big projects like anything kickstarted like with DCC 100 or Dark Tower or whatever, and then we figure out how that's going to work.
Yep.
And actually, that's Chris and I's job. Actually,
Yep.
Joe says, make it happen. And then it's up to Chris and I to figure out how to make that happen.
Yep, and there's a lot of spreadsheets involved, and we would say that our schedule is very fluid. When it starts at the beginning of the year, we update it every month, and we're looking at things, and we're always kind of moving things around, jostling things around. And then there's things, some things have real deadlines, like, for example, the yearbook, wanting to premiere that at Gen Con. All of a sudden, at a certain point of the year, that becomes a priority. So some things might move around and shift on that, but a lot of it is those exciting meetings when Joe will just let us know what license we got most recently, and he'll say, "Hey guys, you need to start watching this or learning this or something." Trying not to spoil anything, but he'll say, "You might want to brush up on this particular geekery subject." And then he'll kind of at some point he will spring on us like exciting news, and then a lot of times we'll get off that Zoom call and we're gonna be like, how are we gonna do this?
But I think the real question is how does Joe Goodman decide what to make next? So really, so a lot of it comes down to you. Is like so obviously there's a lot of market research that goes on here. Like we have a number of CPAs that we consult with. We have a think tank that we keep in a cage, and then I think I'd answer most of Joe's just like, that'd be cool. Let's do that, right?
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of that, yes. I mean, when you get into this industry, you do it because you love it. Otherwise, why are you in games? So a lot of it is things that I or we are interested in, and how you what adapts well to an RPG format, and we all, I think, love dungeon crawling and certain styles of fantasy gaming. So a lot of it is how do you make the next really cool dungeon crawl?
Yeah.
That probably doesn't help at all.
Well, I think it does. Really, we don't have investors, so we're not catering to them.
Right.
So a lot of it is things that we think is really cool, and like what would we like to do, and then can we pull it off, and how can we make it feel like Goodman Games is really what it gets down to.
And I mean, in all fairness, the concept, the idea flow is not all directed from Joe downhill. I mean, their ideas is that writers will pitch us an idea for an adventure or something like that, and we'll be like, hey, that sounds like a great adventure. Like, hey, we haven't done one about I don't know, like ninja pirates or whatever, and that feel, hey, who doesn't love ninja pirates? And then they're like, okay, give me a 10,000 word ninja pirate thing, and then Chris and our job is to then make sure that's the best ninja pirate adventure Goodman Games can put out. So ideas flow both up and down the chain of command.
And and years ago I decided you only do this because you love it, but if I like something, at least 2 other people might. Maybe 5 or maybe 1,000.
Right,
exactly.
I know.
We love it. Great idea.
Eventually, those people get a job working for Goodman.
Yeah.
But part of it is also, if I like it, let's give it a shot often, or if you guys like it, if we all like it, because that means there's probably other people out there who like it as well. All right, hopefully that answers all your questions. And now on to the next question.
There we go. Wait. All
All right, Chris, you want to use our sophisticated answer identification?
I do see. It looks like people are in the chat.
Or you close your eyes.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's go there. Am I closest on
You're
black
close.
spot.
Let's do this one.
All right, so will there be another Empire of the East adventure module? I'll say short version is we don't have any plans to do it right now. We did obviously we did the Empire of the East, hardcover setting source book, and then we did the one adventure module, and then we just kind of got distracted.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I mean, it's a lot of it is about demand. I mean, it's like because we have a finite amount of resources, and we can't as much as we would love to do everything all the time. It's the thing. The best way I can say is, if you want to see another Empire of the East adventure, you should be buying the one that we have right now in large numbers. Or you should be, telling your friends, or you should be running an Empire East of the campaign, because, obviously you're voting with your wallet. And if there's people who are like, yeah, I want to see another Empire of the East adventure, it's one thing if one person says that, but it's another person thing if 50 people are saying, where's the next Empire of the East thing? And then that's an idea of like, okay, maybe it's worth taking the resources from this project, because that's, it's not only going to be a writer, it's going to be an editor, it's going to be an artist, it's going to be, all of our layout people and everything. So we're not opposed to doing more Empire of the East, but it's until we're the size of a giant corporation, we have to budget our time and all our resources.
Even giant corporations have budgets.
I don't believe that.
Okay, but actually that's a great segue. I'm now going to pick one. But somebody asked, what's the timeline for the release of Purple Planet, which is a great example of what you mean. Mm-hmm. We will have more Purple Planet stuff very soon. So what we're working on I think we talked about this somewhere, but we're
if not, we're about to.
About it. Yeah.
So
we're about to finish up X-Crawl Classics Kickstarters. First of all, I think it's a week out or so, but thank you to everybody who's supported X-Crawl. It's been an amazing outpouring of support, and Brendan is here at the show. He's like happy as a clam with all the people who are, supporting an awesome project.
He's currently running XCC in the Wizard Bank as we speak.
Yes, he is. And then after that, we'll be launching another project, which will be announced shortly in about a week. And I don't mean like the next day. I mean, we'll announce it soon, but we'll run it several months from now once we have other projects. Just to say, a DCC 100 just at the warehouse. So we'll probably start shipping that in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. It's like we're going to fulfill some Kickstarters and announce some others. But after X-Crawl, after this next one, the one after that will be Purple Planet. So we are getting very close to crowdfunding Purple Planet. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Obviously, yeah. So there's we're not only are we going to do a reprint of Purple Planet, as things exist and everything. Yeah. So we're going to do a similar as what we did with the chain coffin. So it's not going to be a box set. It's all going to be a hardbound, and we're going to include the digest-sized adventures for the Purple Planet. So this is going to be your one-stop shopping when it comes to Purple Planet. But as you know, when we've done with the chain coffin, there's going to be new stuff too. In fact, Harley Stroh has written a new adventure to be included in the Purple Planet. We'll have all of the glossographies, all of the stuff that we released, bits and pieces of, and it was kind of a chance, like which one did I going to get? This is going to have all of them all compiled together. And
it also has the German.
Our wonderful German translation. They have their own kind of zine, and in that magazine they have produced a Purple Planet adventure in German, and they were kind enough to translate it so we could also include it in the Purple Planet. All right,
so it's going to be an awesome hardcover, pulling together all this great content and a little bit of new stuff.
I don't know whatever, but this is going to be we're going to be trying something new with this too. So it's going to be something like we haven't done before. So let's just say when all said and done, there's going to be a lot of cool Purple Planet stuff coming.
Yeah,
I'll leave it up to that if you want to talk any more about it.
Well phrased. There'll be a lot of Purple Planet stuff coming.
Yeah.
A couple crowdfundings from now.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Mike, you want to randomly select?
Sure. All right. No. Can we do like the Amazing Preston? That's it.
Can you make my pin in?
All right. This one is right here. This one is all right. Not only is it upside down, it's also been crossed out. So this is how we do stuff here. So I'm going to choose this one over here, which is okay. what can we expect from Dying Earth this year? Good question. All right, so what can we expect from Dying Earth? Right now we have, if you followed the Kickstarter, you know that one of the things that we were promising to do is we were going to have an adventure module which was based on the trip that we sent some people out to the Vance, as we were calling it, the home of Jack Vance, which is now the home of John Vance's son. Right?
Yep.
You were there. You know more about this than I was.
Yes.
I had to keep the whole fire burning while you were doing this. So we have a supplement which is based on the kind of trip there. Mark Bruner is kind of headlining that, and there's going to be that, and Julian Burnick also did a short adventure which we're going to include in that. But before that comes out, currently right now we have DCC Dying Earth number 9 written, edited. We have the art begun for that and everything, so that will most likely come out, and then the Vance one will be coming out, and by that point it'll be 2024, and Joe will have put together a new project schedule, and then we'll figure out what else is coming. So we've got at least 2 more in the pipe which are coming along the way. So
Actually, in the other one in the pipeline here at Gen Con, we're running a tournament, which is
Of course, so yeah, so so this year is the Dying Earth themed event tournament, and as we've kind of demonstrated in the past, we run something at Gen Con, we run a tournament, and then the following year we release it. So we'll have 3 things coming this year. Fortunately, this year we cannot include the hats with the the winners of the Dying Earth tournament have a curious assortment of hats. We're going to the winners. 5 awesome looking Dying Earth inspired hats. No.
If you're here at the show, come down to the Lucas Oil Stadium. Check out, obviously, the tournament, but the prizes that Mike mentioned, they're super cool.
We can't guarantee we'll allow you to wear a hat, though. You can take a look at it. You can take pictures.
All right. All right, I'm going to mix these up now. Try to pick one. Let's see what I'm going to get.
Wait a minute.
Bam. It's close to this. Are there any updates to the Mutant Crawl Classics annual?
It's still a work in project. We have a large assortment of we've got new mutations, we've got new mutant menaces, we've got new artifacts, we've got new secret societies, we've got some cool house rules. So that's still a work in progress. It hasn't been forgotten. I'll have to say, like somebody was asking, like, what's the status of this? I was like, well, there are 5 Kickstarters, kind of like some which we are still fulfilling, some which we're still funding, and some which are sort of planned. So it is in the pipe, and like as Joe said, it's kind of it's the production schedule, we have it, but it's fluid. Sometimes things move, so we haven't forgot about it.
No, and honestly, we're a creative company, and I think part of the benefits and curses of being a creative company is when we come up with something cool and we want to do it, we have the ability to slot that in, but it means other stuff gets pushed around. But I mean, a lot of the projects we do that are crowdfunded have amazing stretch goals, and so we're often able to, offer you guys a lot of value for the money, and that means an extra book, an extra supplement, an extra something, or 2 or 3, or in the case of Dying Earth, an entire extra box set for those of you who backed it, and then that pushes other stuff back. So the MCC annual, we also, as you guys know, we publish, every year we publish a yearbook that's released at Gen Con, which is about the previous year. But in terms of things like the Dungeon Crawl Classics annual, we published 1 annual in the last 11 years, which is our pace.
Not really an annual, isn't that like a decade?
Well, as I said, it depends on what planet.
11.
Oh, good point. Yeah. The
It's
Jupiter.
going to be like the Neptunian,
Neptunian annual. Yeah, so we'll publish MCC annuals on the Neptunian schedule, and we'll get around to it eventually.
And obviously, we haven't forgotten about MCC this year for DCC Day. We had the awesome Crash of the Titans, which I was hoping we actually had a copy because we wanted to stick that in our display case because it's just so much fun of having a map of the city and just little monsters that you go as you kind of move them around.
Exactly.
It doesn't actually say that in the adventure, but you have to do that at all times. Every time you move the monster, you have to make a monster noise.
Good thinking. All right, Chris.
Okay.
You get to yeah. It's like pin the tail on the dog.
It is. Public words. Okay. There. Okay. Will there be an advanced Dungeon Crawl Classics?
No.
Wow. Expand on that, or is it just a flat no?
No, it's a flat no. I mean, there's always been Dungeon Crawl Classics is perfect. I'm not saying what it is. Everybody's saying like, when's the 2nd edition of Dungeon Crawl Classics coming in? Well, the thing is that Dungeon Crawl Classics it is. I mean, we published now. As you said, we've had Empire of the East, we've had Lightbar, we've had Dying Earth. every time we play around, we have X-Crawl. Every time we play around with kind of the base dungeon crawl classes, we introduce new stuff. And I don't think that we're ever going to do advanced stuff. I think we've discussed about, kind of compilation of what's already out there. Kind of introducing, like, as a sidebar, like, put all the fleeting luck stuff, because a lot of stuff we do is licensed, and I don't think it's any qualm that license don't last forever. So at some point, DCC Lankbar won't be available. So go buy it now. We can actually put the fleeting luck rules, and then you can, if you're running DCC, you can choose to have your fleeting luck. You can choose to do luck kind of as core written and everything. I think that's the closest we're going to get as advanced stuff. We make clearer, like as we do for every time we do a reprint. Like we'll fix typos, we'll make things a little clearer. But I mean, don't expect paladins or monks or barbarians or anything anytime soon.
But I'm going to expand on that from a slightly different angle. We don't plan to change the rules or the way the game plays or anything like that. I do think there is room to change the format and how we present it. We've talked about versions of this for years. I wanted to do what I call the family edition of DCC. I used to call it that. But if you have kids, it's hard for them to read a 400-page book, even though you only have to read the beginning, 50 pages before the spells take up 300 pages. People get turned, or kids especially, get turned off by giant books. So we have talked about the idea. I mean, the quick start rules cover 2 levels, and they're only, I think, 32 pages long. So we have talked about the idea of changing the format and maybe doing a box set, maybe even like basic, I'm making this up, basic, expert, immortal, or whatever.
But even that's not advanced. That's not like we're not. It's just kind of the presentation of format, and we're not. There's a world of difference, I would say, between like Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. One has completely different classes and all the rest of it. At least as far as I know, we're not going down that way.
No, we're not. But I mean, I don't know if the customer, I don't know whoever asked this question if they meant rules-wise or format-wise. Format-wise, I want to do a version of DCC that's easier to get into, addresses the presentation to make it, different format, etc. To Mike's point, pulls in Mojo, Fleeting Luck, all these cool things that have appeared in other places, describes the settings a little bit, like actually talks about the Shutter Mountains or the Purple Planet, things like that. So I think there's a lot of space there to make a different format, or I don't want to say edition, a different version. We still keep the book as it is right now in print, and then do something else as well.
It's not like we don't put a new rule book with a different cover on every third Thursday or anything like that.
There's just so much cool art.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a question here in the chat. I'm going to answer this in part because several people have asked me about Caverns of Thracia here at Gen Con. Since Goodman Games fully owns Dark Tower and Caverns of Thracia, could third-party publishers publish content connecting to those if they gain permission from Goodman Games? That's a great question. So first, I'd say let us get around to finally printing and shipping Dark Tower. But when our version of Dark Tower comes out, I mean, I might be open to it if somebody has a great idea and is, this wouldn't be a free license. We probably have to charge something because we actually have to pay a lot of money for Dark Tower. But I'm open to the idea if you have cool ideas and would like to explore it.
Yeah. Somebody else can write snake-related stat boxes for a little while. I'm fine with that.
You're so good at it, Mike. and actually, on that note, though, several people have come by the booth and asked when Caverns of Thracia comes out. The answer is, first of all, after Dark Tower is done. And then secondly, we actually have another release in that OAR line, which is going to be announced soon. And then Thracia will come after that. So more to come on that note. But there will be Caverns of Thracia. It is coming out. Never fear that it is
There
not
better
there.
be. Chris and I have done a lot of work.
It's done.
It's
It's pretty much written at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Who's picking? Is it Mike's turn?
I'm not sure it's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've honored. So all right.
Do that. We'll get rid of
Let's
that.
just get this one out of the way.
Okay.
All right. So this one here. Okay. If cost was no concern, what IP would you most like to license for DCC? I'd say let's open this up from DCC and 5e, since we're like if anything, we don't leave Chris out of the discussion. So if we could have any IP, what would we do?
So my vote would be Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars has been done over the years. It's where I cut my teeth and everything. But there's just something about how cool. There's just the universe. There's just so much going on, all the different time eras and that. And they're starting with the movies now, starting to explore some of those different eras where you could actually get some really different feeling your sci-fi. And let's be honest, I mean, Star Wars has always been space opera, space fantasy. And I think it's probably why it's always appealed to me. So if money was no issue, and I know a little bit about what that license used to cost back in the 80s and 90s, so money would definitely be an issue. So yeah, Lucasfilm doesn't let anything go out for free, or should I say Disney/Lucasfilm Doesn't let anything up for me. So that would be my choice.
Right. Well, I mean, back when West End Games got it, it was like a nickel. But
No, it was not. Well, it was not a lot, but it wasn't a lot, but it was a lot. So yeah.
What about you, Mike?
why don't you answer it? Well, because
I mean, Star Wars would be cool. I also had Conan. I'd love to do Conan.
Yeah.
What else? I mean, G.I. Joe would be cool. Micronauts.
Yeah.
Transformers.
basically Hasbro, Mattel, basically anything they
all the stuff I grew up with. Yeah.
I'll go a little outside. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Tolkien, but I do not think that DCC is a good match for Tolkien. So, I would throw that out. But, however, I mean, I've had this discussion before. In fact, Brendan and I have discussed this. I would actually like the complete works of Stephen King that I can pick and choose from.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because I mean, you could do some really stuff, like some neat stuff. Like you do, like the Monster Manual, just some of like his short stories, like the guy who drank the crazy beer and turned into a big sludge monster or something like that. But the gunslinger, that whole stuff. I mean, I think I would go for that way. That would be cool.
You're also reminding me. I mean, going back to the question of how we create stuff. There's always a struggle between deciding what to actually what you can actually make money on publishing and what would be cool to do. One that would cost a lot of money in the sense that we would lose a lot of money on it would be, there's this really cool French comic called The Mercenary. You guys seen this? It's fully painted. Dude did it in like the 70s. It's amazing. And every time they translate it into English, it doesn't sell and they only get through 3 volumes and they cancel it, which has happened like twice now. Anyway, it's so good. So anyway, I have all the English versions from like both failed print runs. It'd be awesome. But yeah, it wouldn't make any money. Anything else we'd like to do as an IP or?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna cheat because I think one of the joys about working with DCC is that we're the stuff that we have licensed is open enough that we're allowed to kind of create around the margins and everything.
Yeah.
And one of the things about DCC has always been just take it and kind of make it your own. So I like it better when we're dealing with a blank slate. And this is something we've had discussion. It's like DCC doesn't have almost 50 years of game canon, which like DCC, which Dungeons and Dragons kind of labors under. We can be like, hey, sure, Titans, they can breathe fire. And it's like nobody can say no, they don't. Like, yes, they do.
They do now.
Yeah, they do.
And actually, there's a question in the chat too, because we interviewed Michael Moorcock on our channel, or not we, Bob Brinkman secured that interview, but whenever that was, 6 or 9 months ago, is there any chance of getting a Melnibonean setting? So I've actually asked that multiple times. I have a reminder on my calendar once every 2 years to follow up. But no, they're actually pursuing Elric movie rights, which puts everything else on hold as of a year and 9 months ago or whatever. So
and there is the French company which has basically had the license for to do a role playing game based on Moorcock now for about 10 years. So in fact, they just produced a board game called it's called the Young Kingdoms. So people's like, where's the Elric roleplay? Well, if you can speak French, it's been available for the last decade, but
So we'll see. Somewhere down the line, maybe. All right, I think it's my turn to pick.
Sure.
All right, let's see. Man. Why is there not a better version of Warhammer Quest using the DCC theme as a board game? As a board game, sorry. So basically, why did they make a DCC version of Warhammer Quest? I don't know, man. Ask Rick Priestley or whoever's in charge of Games Workshop right now.
Rick Priestley is not in charge. Rick Priestley is far away from Games Workshop, but probably happier for it. So
All I know is I loved Warhammer as a kid. I played a lot of 40K mostly. And it would be, I mean, now that we're talking out loud, Warhammer would be a cool license, or Warhammer 40K for DCs. I love Space Marines and Terminators back in the day.
You know what? I would do it, but only if we could just do original Rogue Trader.
Dude, Rogue Trader was awesome.
Right, because it had very much that DCC mentality. Yes. It's like, make it up, it's fun, it's like, even down to the terrain, like, I mean, my favorite one is the deodorant tank.
Yes, dude, yes. I used to save all the plastic crap. Every piece of random plastic, I would save it, spray paint it gold, these little black flakes and turned into a building. Like, yeah.
And the Rogue Trader was cool for the same reason that that D&D is problematic in that sense, because after Rogue Trader, like the whole kind of 40K universe became very codified, and they had everything. They just have the 10th version, 10th edition of so everybody can tell you what a Space Marine does and what this chapter is. And Rogue Trader make up your own chapter, make up the Rainbow Warriors, who are like dressed like clowns, and
But that book was amazing. It was confusing as heck,
Oh yeah.
But there's so much random stuff, so many ideas.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it really harkens to the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide, which is a hot mess to sit down and read, but is full. It's a gold mine of material and random stuff and poorly organized, but beautiful in its own way, and would really stick to that. So.
Yeah, man. So remember, Rogue Trader was great. Remember Chapter Approved, that first compilation of all the White Wolf articles?
I saw it many years down the line. I know you were the day it was released, you had your copy of it, so yeah.
Yeah, and the first Realms of Chaos from Games Workshop. The second one wasn't so good. First one was amazing. No, but actually when I was in college, I didn't have any money, so I sold all my Warhammer books. Then years later, I went back in the secondary market and paid 10 times as much to rebuy them, but I could never get the Chapter Approved because they're so rare. Yeah. So I'm just going to publicly thank Jim Kitchen for getting me one 2 years ago. He somehow found one and got me one, which was awesome. Actually, sorry, so this is going somewhere, which is, it'd be cool to get a hold of the old UK-based D&D material that they put in the early issues of White Dwarf.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? That's just kind of, I don't think it's ever been reprinted, but I remember White Dwarf covered D&D for the first, 5 or 10 years or whatever.
I do remember that what they did, Games Workshop, they republished the White Dwarf as the PDF, kind of what Dragon did.
Yeah.
And then they had to pull it from the market because the rights were a complete and utter mess. So if somebody came along and if you could wade in there with a machine and you couldn't have the rights, great. But,
I know, there is that problem. Yeah.
Or you just keep sending me UK Game Expo, and I will keep charming the Brits with my presence. Eventually, we'll form Goodman's Game East.
Sounds like a plan.
UK. Good.
Good.
Gives UK.
Publisher on Beat Folio.
Yeah.
All right. Is it your pick?
I thought that was just me. That was just me.
Was that you? Oh, sorry. Your pick.
All right, sure.
Yeah, I can't remember.
That was 10 minutes ago.
It was.
All right. Okay.
You're supposed to.
All right. Anything in the chat while this is going on?
Chat says, when are you going to have Elena sing theme songs for the Twitch streams? I mean, I think we can start that right now. She's actually right there holding the camera, mouthing. I think it's yes. I think she's mouthing yes.
Can't make me. I know who did that. That was Chris. I know you, Chris. It is.
So this is the 1 year anniversary of the birth of the man bat.
I'm not gonna hurt their ears. I can't do it because I'm right at the camera. If I didn't have the microphone in front of my mouth, I would do it.
Lies. Okay. All right. While Elena is getting ready to make the bad noise. All right. So here's a question for my compatriot over here. It's when can we have the full OAR treatment of Castle Whiterun?
Well, I'm still working on playtesting
Thursday. You're not doing anything tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I've got all sorts of cool ideas because my group they are really kicking the tires on this. I mean, we've done a lot of really cool off the grid things. Actually, they've spent a lot of time in the city. And it kind of explored some areas literally without even letting me know, and to do some stuff on the cuff there. But we are about a year and a half into playtesting it. We've gotten about a third of the way through it, I think, roughly. Probably not. But then we've taken a little bit of a pause because we've been playing DCC RPG actually the last few months. So. Which has been nice because I don't actually get a chance to play much, and I've actually been playing DCC RPG and having a blast. Terry has been our game master, but no, we're having a lot of fun with it, and I think there's people keep asking about it, and all I'm gonna say is keep asking about it in all of our comments in our Kickstarters and everything because I mean I'm certainly willing, so. We'll leave it. But also, I'm adding all sorts of extra material. I mean, it's already huge, but we've been talking about different presentations, like how we could do it. And again, all in the preliminary conversations right now. So, if you want to add anything on how feasible you think something like this could be, or what you think. So you can just break my dreams right now, shatter them, or make my day.
Castle White Rock is awesome. Was awesome. Is awesome. As I recall, Chris, check my memory. After we worked on the largest Goodman Games product ever released, 700 and something pages. I recall.
786.
Okay.
I remember the number.
Yes. And had, I think, 50 or 100 copies FedEx from China to Gen Con to release it just in time. It arrived, written under 3rd edition rules, and I believe it was at that same Gen Con.
It was that very night they announced 4th edition.
So the largest, biggest investment we ever undertook had a shelf life of 24 hours.
Yep. So we have kind of pumped the brakes on it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I will say, so basically it was, terrible timing in a lot of ways. So it didn't live as long as I would have liked, we obviously never reprinted it, etc. I love the idea. It's a great, great dungeon crawl. I love the idea of doing it again in some format, and people keep asking me about it, like over and over and over. So I think it is in our future. It's just we need to get through all the other 700-page projects and open up some bandwidth.
And while Chris has been, thoroughly playtesting this the last year and a half, I'm working to do a 32-page knockoff for DCC called Castle Rolling Rock, which takes place in Old Latrobe. That's
awesome. That sounds cool. I love that. I like that. So,
it's a big green castle on top of a hill,
All right, so this is a long question. Goodman Games does a wonderful job at promoting third-party creators, more and more of whom are from non-U.S. countries. Does Goodman Games have any plans to seek out stories created by these non-U.S. authors who have more unique perspectives in the TTRPG space? So actually, I will answer this in a broad way. Something that Mike knows about that so DCC, it's amazing how many people all over the place have wanted to play it and have embraced it. We have translators. You mentioned earlier our partner in Germany who translates DCC RPG to Germany. There's partners in Brazil doing Portuguese, France doing French. By the way, our French translator, they're all awesome, but he and I have very similar tastes in a lot of stuff. And he just sent me a lot of samples of his products and was like, dude, I own the same thing in English. It's really cool. Anyway, but France, Germany, Spain, Italy. Portugal, Italy, so Brazil, something I've been calling it the Around the World module, and the idea would be that each partner in their respective location writes an adventure that somehow capitalizes on like the unique thematic elements of their countries, either culture, history, mythology, something like that, and then we put it all, they're not going to be connected, but then we put them all together in some sort of compilation, obviously translate them all to English. So someday I want to do something like that, which I think would be really cool, and give the voices, at least in the places where we have translators, a place to describe their version of DCC and how they adapted it to their market.
And maybe that's an opportunity to get some more countries to get translators to invite them and almost kind of do like an open call to the world. How about that? An open call to the world.
Yes.
So create a DCC adventure.
So I like the idea. We'll do that right after the Mutant Call Classics annual, Purple Planet, Castle White Rock.
Castle White Rock.
And our Smurfs adaptation.
Yes.
But if you are in another wonderful land, remember we have a very open third-party license. So
that's true.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time. Let me. I'm gonna pick. Actually, we have 3 left. Why don't I just? Right, 3. Yeah, I'm gonna start. I'm just gonna read off the last 3.
Okay.
All right. Questions from fans. Would Goodman Games be willing to buy the TSR catalog from WotC at a reasonable price? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yes, in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I mean, I got $1.50 in my pocket.
Yeah.
Is that gonna work?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. We obviously there's a lot of the old classic adventures that we would love to give the ore treatment to.
Yes.
And we're just waiting for the time, and we are hopeful that time will come.
But even remember Dragon Magazine had that game you played with the Play-Doh?
Oh yeah, Clayorama.
Yeah, and then they did a sequel like 20 issues later.
Yeah.
Even like that era of TSR, like we could adapt that.
Yeah.
We just republish. I mean, there's so much that even beyond the classic modules,
I think we're already there. I think we're doing that. I mean, I think if you look at like the old TSR profiles and everything, it was just like this weird hodgepodge of like creative people who were hanging around. And this was still at that point where maybe, I mean, I'm sure there was corporate oversight, but you didn't get it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I think we're still at that point. It's like we have, Doug right now is selling the Hoponomicon. We've Save X, we have the whole X crawl thing which is going on. I think it's just creative stuff. The funnel this year, if you're literally there are pirate people. I mean, they're little, small, tiny people who take over people and turn them into pirate ships and they fight each other. So it's crazy stuff going on right now. And Player had his time, but again, I mean, we buy TSR's library, but we also bought all the 50 years of development and stuff, and we don't have that blank slate of freedom anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do what your side of the fence wants to do, but we in the DC side that we want nothing to do with it. We want to go out there and make our own business.
They want to blaze their
Until
own.
Joe tells us they have to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take one last question because we're officially over time. Somebody emailed in and asked, what is the strangest place you've played an RPG? I mean, now that we're running games out of a van here, who wants to take that one?
So I can go first.
Yeah.
I actually played in the back of a van
Okay.
while it was driving to Gen Con in 1988. We actually, while the parents were driving, we were actually role-playing the three of us. It was hard because we had trouble, the dice stopping because of the movement of the van. But we played it. We had a van not as old as the Wizard van, but so the drive out, we were playing I-12, Egg of the Phoenix, and it's probably why it's one of my most favorite adventures, because
That's awesome.
we played it on the drive to Gen Con, on the drive back to Gen Con, in the hotel rooms while we were staying in Ohio back and forth. And then when we got home from Gen Con, after all that gaming, we played that night. We played and finished it all up.
Wow.
And yeah, apparently we couldn't play enough. So we're all tired on Sunday night after Gen Con. We were ready for more gaming on the Sunday night after all of Gen Con when we were just fans back in the late 80s. So
That's awesome.
we had so much more energy. So yeah, so I played in the back of a van moving on Route I-80 to and from, back then it was Milwaukee, where Gen Con was. So
That's
and it was a
cool.
longer drive too. It was like 16 hours. 2
Wow.
days.
Well, what about you, Mike?
You know, I had to think about this one rather hard, and I don't have a strange place that I played an RPG, and I was curious. I was trying to think of why that was, and then I realized the fact is that the whole thing about role-playing games is, you know, you're imagining having this adventure, and I think anytime I'm in a strange place, I'm actually having my own adventure, so the last thing I want to do is kind of pretend I'm having an adventure, you know, because I'm in the middle of one. So, I mean, I don't think of anything stranger than, you know, a basement or a dorm room or anything like that. At the time, we were kind of in a place where nothing really interesting was going on. Like, you know, I mean, if we were on a road trip, I think, you know, we'd be more interested to, you know, seeing what's going on and having the camaraderie to, you know, blasting music and having like our own adventure rather than kind of turning inward. So, you know, that's just me, you know, no.
That's cool. I was thinking about this too, and I think, so I mostly played, like you said, you know, the house, basements, game stores, dorm rooms, that kind of stuff. My very first game at D&D was played on the steps to my back porch, which was awesome. I was like 10 or 12 or something, and my brother's friend Wayne, I think, was the one who got us the rules. I can't remember how I got the rules, but it was me, my brother, and my brother's friend Wayne. And we got everything wrong, but for some reason, I still remember that game to this day. You know, and it was just super fun. It probably only lasted half an hour. You know, we fought some skeletons and died, which is like how everybody started off with D&D. And I had the rules all wrong. But I remember to this day playing that game in the back, the stairs to the back porch, the steps, because it was a hot summer day, and how much fun it was. So, cool. I think we're out of time.
I think we are too.
Yeah.
I know I'm definitely out of energy.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody who submitted questions. We're happy to answer them. And if you have any more, hold on to them until next year.
2024.
Just sit on them for a
So
while.
make sure it's you know, like,
Okay,
I'm
so
choking. Can you get me, no.
No, seriously, thanks everybody. And we're at Gen Con, so if you're around here, come on by and say hi.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks. Talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye.